Okay, so again, I'm really sorry for the technical difficulty that occurred. So the media site could not record the video that was done in lecture hall, but it's the same thing I'm doing right here, right now. So I'm sorry if you feel inconvenient watching this. Um, I will try to record the video, but I think this might help at this moment, and I'll make sure that media site doesn't do that thing again. All right, guys. So we were talking about polynomials. So polynomials is um, a function or an expression that is arranged in this form. So remember, you have to have positive integers for all these powers. Okay, and so for example, 5x to the power 3 minus 3x squared plus 2x minus 7 is one of these examples of a polynomial. So in this lecture, we will learn how to factor and how to expand or distribute polynomials. So there are two main things we can do. We can factor polynomials and we can distribute polynomials. Okay, so let's just talk about some naming things. So these things, the numbers in front of the variable, these are called coefficients. Okay, and this last number has a special name. It's just called the constant. And this first number also has a name. It's called the leading coefficient. Now, remembering the names of these concepts is somewhat important, because in the future, when I want to refer to it, I will just say leading coefficient and you should know what I'm talking about. Okay, now there are different types of polynomials, monomials, like 2x squared is a monomial, just one term. Binomials, two terms, 2x squared minus 5, that's binomial. Trinomials, 2x squared plus 7x minus 3, or 5x to the power 7 plus 3x plus 2. Whenever there are three terms, it's called a trinomial. So we will focus on these type of trinomials, which are called quadratic trinomials. Okay, and when you write a polynomial in a standard form, you will have the powers of x in descending order. So for example, x squared minus 5x cubed plus 7x5 minus 2 is not the standard order. If you need to write it in standard order, bring this to the front. So that is 7x to the power 5 minus 5x to the 3 plus x squared minus 2. That is in standard order, or the standard form. And then just the 0 is called the zero polynomial. Okay. All right. So let's just talk about this naming. So this is not an puzzle video. This is not graded. So if you can it's optional to watch this. Okay. So let's see whether these things are polynomials or not. Now this one right here, it is a polynomial. It is negative 2x to the power 0. So it's a 0-degree polynomial. It has a degree 0. And it's already written in standard form. Now this one right here, you can see when you rewrite it, minus 1 plus 3x to the power negative 1. When you rewrite it, you can see that it has a negative exponent here. So this guy is a negative exponent, which means this is not a polynomial. Okay, so negative exponents are not allowed, and fractional exponents are not allowed in polynomials. So for example, this guy right here, plus 4x minus root 2 x to the power 1/2, that is bad. It's not a polynomial. Okay. And the last one, if you look at the powers, well, it is. All powers are integers, which means it's fine. It is polynomial. So that would be root 3x to the power 8 minus 4x 5 plus 5x minus 7 is the standard form, and you can see the degree is equal to 8. So evaluating or substituting means just plugging. So plug in the given numbers, that's it. Okay, so let's say when x equals negative 2, plug it in, negative 2. So you get 2 times negative 2 cubed plus 3 times negative 2 squared minus 2 times negative 2 plus 5, and that should end up at negative 16 plus 12 plus 4 plus 5. That is 5. And you plug in 0. You get 2 times 0 cubed plus 3 times 0 squared minus 2 times 0 plus 5. That's 5 again. And last, let's plug in 1. So you get 2 times 1 cubed plus 3 times 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 5. That's 8. So quite straightforward. You can simply plug in any values. Okay, all you need is just to know how to add and multiply those numbers. Now that's plugging in things. Even addition and subtraction is not something really bad. You can just add the like terms, or you can just subtract the like terms. So let's see how that go. So just find what the like terms are. So right here you can see like terms, like terms again, and then like terms. So just write down all the terms and combine the like terms. So x cubed plus 6x squared plus 3x squared plus negative 4x plus 2x plus 7 minus 4. So just add it up. X cubed plus 9x squared minus 2x plus 3. That's it. Okay, and let's find the difference. The same thing, same principle goes. Just combine the like terms. So x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x squared. 6x squared minus 3x squared. Okay, and then minus 4x plus 2x. Minus 4x minus 2x. And then plus 7 plus 4. So that would be x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x plus 11. Okay. Multiplication follows the distribution rule. So for example, right here, just distribute or just combine these two. That would be negative 18. And then combine these two, x to the power 8 times x to the 5. So negative 18 x to the power 8 plus 5, that is negative 18 x to the power 13. When we multiply two binomials, we use something called FOIL. Okay, so how do you use FOIL? You just do the first term, you do outer term, you do inner term, and then you do last term. That's FOIL. Okay, so first terms you get 2x plus 2x times 4x, 2x times 4x. That's first. Out terms, you get plus 2x times 7. Inner terms, that's negative 5 times 4x. Last terms, that's negative 5 times 7. So that would be 8x squared plus 14x minus 20x minus 35. So you should end up with 8x squared minus 6x minus 35 as your answer. Okay. So that's that. You know how to multiply two binomials. So even for polynomials, you just use an extended version of FOIL. Okay. All right. So let's see. There are some shortcuts that you can use. One of them is the difference of two squares. The difference of two squares. Just remember the formula. You can actually FOIL it and see that formula works. Okay, the correct formula is u squared minus v squared. Memorize this. And the formulas for square of binomials is u squared plus 2uv plus v squared. And u minus v perfect square is u squared minus 2uv plus v squared. And this is, remember, this was discussed in lecture 0 part 2, that is called the freshman's dream. Don't do it. Okay. All right. So let's see how we apply this to this single example right here. Use the formula. Okay. So the formula gives you u plus v squared is equal to u squared plus 2uv plus v squared. Okay. So let's see how this works here. Now, according to the formula, when you compare this, you can see this is your u and you can see this is your v. So the formula reads as u squared, that would be use parenthesis squared, plus 2 times u is 3x, v is root 5. And then last one is root 5 squared. So you end up with 9x squared plus 6 root 5 x plus 5. Square root of 5 squared is 5. So that's the end. There's no further simplification, and that is the polynomial you're looking for. Okay. So let's move on to cube. Now again, what's really important here is the formula, not the way you obtain it, unfortunately. So what you can actually see that this is just foiling 2 times. But let's try to remember the formula. U cubed plus 3u squared v plus 3uv squared plus v cubed. It's something you need to memorize. Now, the other one is cube of a binomial but cube of a difference. That's u cubed minus 3u squared v plus 3uv squared minus v cubed. So you can see the difference is the negative sign is alternating in the second equation. Okay, so let's apply this. So you can see we are using the second formula, which is the difference cubed, and your x is u, your v is 2. So applying the formula, it's x cubed minus 3u squared, that's x squared times 2 plus 3x times 2 squared minus 2 cubed. So negative sign was originally in the formula. Okay, so x cubed minus 6x squared plus 12x minus 8. That would be correctly simplified. Okay, so up to now we learned something called expansion. Okay, and the opposite of expansion, going from here to here, is called factoring. Okay, so factor a polynomial. To factor a polynomial is to express it as a product of its prime factors. So a polynomial is factored completely if it's written as a product of prime polynomials only. Okay, so let's see. So factoring can be quite tricky depending on the question. Okay, so there's not just one technique that you use to factor. There are several techniques. So you have to look at the question itself and think about how to factor things. All right, so let's look at this one right here. So first thing is look at the greatest common factor. How do you find the greatest common factor? Factor things to prime factors. So 24 factors are 2 to the power 3 times 3. 36, the factors are 2 to the power 2 times 3 to the power 2. So when you pick the greatest common factor, what you do is, it should be the common factor. So the bases should be common. So that's a common base. 3 is a common base. But also we have to pick the exponents. For the exponent, so use common bases. Do not write uncommon bases that are not common. And 2, pick the least exponent. That's it. So least exponent. So now we have 3 and 2. The least exponent is 2. And we have 1 and 2. The least exponent is 1. So the greatest common factor is 2 squared times 3. Oh, here in this case it's 12. Okay, so very similarly you can do find the greatest common factor of two monomials. Okay, so let's find the prime factors. Here you have 2 times 3 times x cubed y1 c1. Here you have 2 times 3 times, okay, there's no 3 here, sorry, 2 times 3 times x squared times y squared. Now write the common bases. Do not write anything else. Common, 2 is common, x is common, y is common, z is not common, and 3 is not common. So only things that are common goes to the greatest common factor. And look at the powers. 1, so powers of 2, 1 and 1, least one is 1. Powers of x, 3 and 2, least power is 2. Powers of y, 1 and 2, the least power is 1. So 2x squared y is the greatest common factor. Okay, now let's move forward. But before that, let's do one question here, and I'm gonna have a look at actual lecture notes to see whether I went wrong here. If that is the case, I will upload it with the correct note. So let's see how you factor 2x cubed yz minus 6x squared y squared. Okay, so you already found that the greatest common factor is 2x squared y. So what you do here is you will write down 2x squared y and try to fill in what's missing. So you have x cubed, here you wrote x squared, so an x is missing. You had y, you have y here. You had 2, you have 2 here. You had z, you don't have z here, so write it down. And then minus. Write down the common factor again. 2x squared y. Well, you had 6. Now you have 2, so you need 3. You had x squared, you have x squared. You had y squared, now you just have y, so there should be a y here. So now you can see in red, you can see the common factor. In green, you can see the uncommon ones, not common ones. Okay, so what you do is you take out the common factor and write down what's remaining inside the parentheses. So xz minus 3y. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, here. Look at the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor in this case is, well, we are looking at 3x squared and we are looking at 2 times 3 times x. So common bases are 3 and x. The least powers are 1 and 1. So 3x is the greatest common factor. So write 3x and x is missing. Write 3x, 2 is missing. Okay, now you can see 3x is the common factor. So you can take it out. And then inside, open a parenthesis, should see x minus 2. Okay. Okay, so let's see number 2 here. In number 2, you can see, well, it's a little long, but you can still find what the GCF is. But before doing that, let's actually rewrite this. Now, 8 can be written as 2 to the power 3, x to the power 4, y to the squared. And 6 can be written as 2 times 3, x3, y cubed. And this can be written as negative 2 xy 4. Okay. Now let's see the greatest common factor. 2 is a common factor, yes. So 2 should go there. X is a common factor, should go there. Y is a common factor, so that goes to the base. And now let's pick the least exponents. 3, 1, 1, 1. 4, 3, 1, 1. 2, 3, 4, 2. So 2xy squared is the greatest common factor. Okay, now let's do what we've been doing. 2xy squared plus 2xy squared minus 2xy squared. Okay, here you had 2 to the power 3, which is 8. Okay, so that would be, what's remaining is 2 to the power 2. X to the power 4, you took out 1x, so x to the power 3. Y squared, you took out that, and see whether this is the same as this. And it is. Let's see what happens here. 2 is good. There is a 3 that's missing. X cubed, you have x, so you should have x squared. Y cubed, you have y squared, so you should have a y. And the last one, 2 is good, x is good. Y4, you have y squared, so you have a y squared here. And now you can see 2xy squared is the common factor, open a parenthesis. 4x cubed plus 3x squared y minus y squared is the factorization. Okay, so that's how you factor that. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is using the difference of two squares and the difference of the perfect square trinomial. Okay. So the difference of two squares. Again, what is important is the formula, and that is u minus v, u plus v. The perfect square trinomial is u squared plus 2uv plus v squared factors as u plus v, the whole thing squared. And u squared minus 2uv plus v squared factors as u minus v, the whole thing squared. Now let's see how you factor this. Okay, so how do you identify that this is one of those forms? Well, two terms squared and a minus, that begs you use this. Okay, so this is your u and this is your v, and this is of the form u squared minus v squared. So the factoring is u minus v, u plus v, and your u is x plus 2 minus y, x plus 2 plus y. So that would be x minus y plus 2, x plus y plus 2. Okay, and this one right here. Now it's three terms, and you can see these two are similar. Okay, and you can see that this is x, this is 4 squared, and this is x squared, and this is minus 2 times 4x. Okay, so your u is x and your v is 4. So you can factor this as x minus 4, the whole thing squared, and that's it. Okay. Okay, so I would end the lecture right here because I can defer you to the bonus lecture in Edpuzzle from this page onwards. I will actually try to merge these two into a single lecture and put it on Canvas. So thank you for watching. Welcome to the lecture 3 video. This is the part I could not complete in class. So this is lecture 3, page number 9 and page number 10. And as I already told you in an email, this is a extra point video, which means the points you get here is extra credit, and that will be added to your final score. Okay, so there should be no confusion about that. It will be added to your final score, and the questions I pose would be really easy. Okay, so we were talking about difference of two squares formula. So there are two other formulas, which is called the difference of two cubes formula. So again, how does that work? It works because FOIL, and it doesn't really matter at this stage. What matters is you need to memorize this. So probably these are the things that you should go into your flashcards. Okay, now so the formulas that you need to remember is for u cubed plus v cubed. That should be u plus v times u squared minus uv plus v squared. Now if someone wants to check whether this is correct, I would encourage you to file it and see whether you get the same thing. Okay, and the difference of two cubes is factored as u minus v, u squared plus uv plus v squared. Again, you can check this for yourself. And by the way, because I have time, I will actually do the second one and show you it works. So let's do the filing. So, but remember, what's important is you memorizing these formulas. Okay, so let's do the filing. Okay, so along the red lines, that would be u cubed plus u squared v plus v squared u. And along the green lines, minus vu squared minus uv squared minus v cubed. And you can easily see that things cancel off. This cancels off with this, and this cancels off with this, so you end up with u cubed minus v cubed. So my formula is correct. Okay, so again, remember, what you need to memorize is the formula. Okay, and once you memorize the formula, you can, when you see some terms, you should be able to factor this using the formula. Now, for example, here you have x cubed minus 8. Okay, now you look at this formula and look at the expression, and you can see that it's a binomial expression, and one of the terms is clearly a cubed term, which suggests you to think of using the two cubes formulas. And here I would use this. Okay, and it is not exactly clear at this stage what would your v be. So how do you find that? You would rewrite this. So x cubed minus 2 cubed. Okay, the formula we use is the difference of two cubes, that is u cubed minus v cubed. And you can easily see that x is your u and 2 is your v. Okay, so once you do that, you can use the formula. So first bracket, you get u minus v. So u minus v is x minus 2. And in the second parenthesis, you can use anything here. It's not a notation. You get u squared, which is x squared, plus uv plus 2 times x plus v squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. And that's how you factor it. And also you need to notice that this will never factor anymore. So this will never factor. Okay, so let me do one more, and you will see some more questions in lecture part 2. So let me do something else. Let's say 27 x cubed minus how about 125. Okay, again, it is not, well, you can see that it's a cube term and you have a binomial, which means, let's do plus. Okay, which means it's a cube formulas, but it's not exactly clear which is your x and which is your y, v. But when you rewrite this, so this is the same as 3 cubed, and that's x cubed, and 125. Well, 5 might work. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So yes, 5 cubed. So this is 5 cubed. So just rewrite it once more. 3x, the whole thing cubed, plus 5 cubed. Now you can see the formula you're using is u cubed plus v cubed. This is your u and this is your v. Okay, and by applying the formula u cubed plus v cubed, you can write here, you can get 3x plus 5 times 3x squared minus 3x times 5 plus 5 squared. So all I did was applying the formula. Find your u and v and just apply the formula. And that would be 3x plus 5 times 9x squared minus 15x plus 25. And again, there's no more factors. Don't even think about factoring this. It doesn't factors. It never factors. Okay, so that's the final answer. Okay, so that is about sum and difference of two cubes. And if you have already watched lecture part 2, you will see that you will have seen more examples. Now there will be a really easy question on your screen. Please answer the question and proceed. Okay, so let's move on to factoring trinomials. Now, as you might have noticed, I skipped this in class and I went to factoring by grouping. So let us just revisit that. Okay, factoring by grouping. So remember what I did here. You group the terms, okay, and look at common factors of each of these terms. Now here you can see the common factor is y, and here you can see the common factor is 4. Now instead of 4, I would do negative 4 for a reason. Okay, right, and then I will just write this as common factors taken out. So I take out y, I get x minus 2. Okay, now let's see what we get here. You have 4x plus 8. You take out a negative 4, and here you will have x, and from here you will have negative 2. So why does that work? As I described in class, when you times it, you get plus 8, which is good. Okay, so the reason I took this negative, because you will see when you write it down, minus 4 times x minus 2. Now you can clearly see that we have one more common factor. So how do you factor using common factors? You take it out. So you write it on the outside. Okay, and then write down what's remaining from the first term, that is y, and write down what's remaining from the second term, that is minus 4. And if you feel like you've been cheated, I would ask you to file this and see you get this back. Okay, now factoring by grouping is really important, because that is the technique that we will use when it comes to factoring a trinomial. Okay, so let us do one more example here. So I did this in class, but I did not do the one I'm going to do next in class. So how about this? I would do 2x squared minus 4x minus x plus 2. So here I'm trying to factor this. I'm not trying to combine this. I'll just factor it. Okay, so let's see how do I go about this. First of all, notice that you can group things. So the question is factor. Okay, So here I will factor the common factor 2x, and here I will factor, there is no common factor between these two, but I can say 1 is a common factor, or rather I will say -1 is a common factor. You can look at right here, that is the same idea I'm using here. So let's say factor is -1. Okay, so this is quite easy. You take out 2x. So from the first term, there's only 1x remaining. From the second term, you had -4x, you took out 2x, so you just have -2. Okay, what happens here? So let me just do it on this small box here. So you have -x plus 2. You take out a -1, okay, and then you have plus x minus 2, right? -1 times x is -x. -1 times -2 is plus 2. Works. Okay, so here what goes in is -1 x minus 2. And you can see x minus 2 is a common factor. Okay, and then that would be taken out, x minus 2, and then write what's remaining, 2x minus 1. That would be the correct factorial. So that is the technique that we will use to factor trinomials. Okay, so this will take a little while, but you can just answer the question you can see on the screen now. All right, now let's go to factoring a trinomial. So this is something that we did not do in class. So this is probably, if you're learning in this class, this is probably the first place you will see it. So what you do is, so in general situation, what you have is ax squared plus bx plus c. What you do is you will multiply these two numbers. So you will have ac, and then find all the factors. Well, when you get used to this, you will see easier ways emerging. But let's see, find all factors. Okay, so let's do that here. So I will multiply these two. That is 2 and 2. That's 4. So the factors of 4, different factors, not prime factors, just factors. Factors of 4 are of course 2 and 2, that is what we already got, and 1 and 4. Okay, and it's because it's plus 2, there are 2 more factors, -2 and -2, that is also plus 4 times when you multiply it, that's and also you get -1 and -4. When you multiply these numbers, you end up with 4. Okay, now you add them and see whether you get this number. See whether for what you get this number. So find all the factors of AC and add it up to get B. Now this is something you have to keep on practicing. Okay, so let's add it up. Okay, 4, 5, -4, -5. And what gives you -5 is this set of factors. So this doesn't work. The only one works is that. Okay. So you will now break this -5x to -1x minus -1x minus 4x. So that is really important step. So find all factors and add it up to get B, to split px 2 into two terms using step 1. Okay, so I will split negative 5x to negative x and negative 4x. Okay, so I will write it here. So 2x squared is already, it was already there. Instead of negative 5x, I'm going to write negative 4x minus x, and then the last term is okay. That is very crucial in factoring this. Okay, now you can see the common factor is 2x, and you can see the common factor here. There is no common factor, but I will take negative 1 as a common factor. In fact, this is exactly the previous question. Okay, so take out 2x, you get x minus 2, and take out negative 1, you get x minus 2. And then you can see that this is a common factor. Open the bracket and write 2x minus 1, and that's a factor. Okay, so let me do one more example here. I'm thinking of example, but okay, before that, just one more question. Just go ahead and do one more question that appears on the screen. Okay, so let's do one more question, and that would be 3x squared. Let's do a minus 8. And let's do negative 10x. See whether it works. Okay, so how would you split it? First of all, you will multiply these two numbers, and what do you get? 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Now you should understand that in order to get negative 24 by multiplying, one of the factors should be negative. Okay, so let's think about factors of negative 24. Well, 1 times 24 is 24, but let's see, 1 should be negative. And then negative 2 times 12, negative 3 times 8, negative 4 times 6, and that's about it. Okay, and then you have the same thing but reverse. So 1 times negative 24, 2 times negative 12, 3 times negative 8, and 4 times negative 6. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pairs. Okay, and when you do enough questions, you should be able to exactly stop and find what exact numbers you're looking for. Right here, I need negative 10. So I get negative 10 by plus 2 and negative 12. None of the others give me negative 10. Okay, which means I will split negative 10x as negative 12x plus 2x. Okay, so let's write it down here. So you get 3x squared minus 12x plus 2x minus 8. Okay, and now you can see that there are these factors, there are these groups. You can factor by grouping. Here the common factor is 3x, and you get x minus 4. And here the common factor is 2, and you get x minus 4. And then you can see that x minus 4 is a common factor, take it out, and then 3x plus 2. and that is how you factor. Okay. Okay, at this point, really I'm asking the last question because I have covered, there's just a simple part that I didn't cover, but I'm gonna, if you want to close this video, you can do so after answering the next question. But the video will continue. Um, okay, let's do that. All right, so the last thing I want to go is factoring the trinomial when you have x squared plus bx plus c. It's the same thing except you have 1 here. So you will multiply 1 times c instead of a times c. So that would be just c. So factor c, that, and find factors that add up to b. Okay. And in this case only, so if you have a different type, if this is not 1, there are no shortcuts. You have to factor AC and then find all those factors, find what adds up to B, and then split. Okay, if you don't split, you get the wrong answer. Okay, now AB equals C and A plus B is equal to B. Okay, it's once you do that, it should be really simple. Now let us look at this. Factor negative 30. Well, there's sort of factors. 1 times 30, negative 1 times 30, negative 2 times 15, negative 3 times 10. That's about it. And of course, 1 times negative 30, 2 times negative 15, and 3 times negative 10. Now, see what factor gives you negative 7. And of course, it's this factor. It gives you negative 7. And at this point, you cannot do it for the previous questions. But at this point, you can actually do x, and plus 3 and minus 10. And that's it. So for this question, when this is 1, there is a little shortcut that you don't have to split in the middle. Okay, let's see what happens when you split in the middle. You still get the correct answer. Okay, so what you do is you would do x squared, you split it in the middle. So plus 3x minus 7x minus 30. I would rather write it as x squared, hold on, minus 10x minus 30. Okay, and now you can see the first one has factors x. The common factor for this is x, and common factor for this is, let's say, negative 10. So take out x, you get x plus 3, and you take out negative 10, you get x plus 3. So x plus 3 is a common factor. You end up with x plus 3 times x minus 10, and that's it. So either way you get the correct answer. But remember, you cannot use this. Use this for ax squared plus bx plus c type if a is not 1. This is a very, very common error that I always see in students' transcript, that they have used this in different type of questions and got it wrong. Okay guys, so again, sorry about not completing the lecture, and I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you understand this. So have a look at lecture part 2. Thank you.